jumpers in Alaska always spoke with great fondness about the T-hangar days. And I thought, boy, if someone could just write that story about what happened, the magic that happened at that time, it would be great. And so finally I got to the point that I took it up. And the book is called More or Less Crazy, and that's based on, if you've ever know how Evan W. Kelly was the regional forester in Region 1, and he wrote that letter back to Washington when he protested that some of his upstart fire guys were starting to think about the cockamamie idea of parachuting firefighters from airplanes, and that he wanted no part of that, and he thought it was absolutely crazy. And although he would do anything to help the firefighting effort, he was not willing to engage in such a risky process, because after talking to pilots, he had determined that all parachutists were more or less crazy. And the smoke jumpers latched onto that and loved that in their whole life. They loved that part of being described as more or less crazy. But that's how the title of the book went. So I wanted to really do that, and it was a really interesting time. It was my first year in Alaska in '73. I went up there with my wife and young son. Eric was 4. And this was when I was going back to Alaska for the 2 years after my career and get it out of my system and come back to my regular forestry job. The Alaska jumpers had been problematic for people up there. They had been in jail a lot. They were the dirty dozen from the lower 48. They were the incorrigibles from down here that people had the hardest time, the most characters. Some of them were back from Vietnam. And not only that, Alaska was pretty rough at first. They lost people. I mean, it was hard to manage in that atmosphere up there with the distances involved and fuel logistics and everything. So the place was pretty wild, and they were overt, outright oat hogs. I mean, they were the most money-grubbing about overtime and everything. So when I got there, they were on the chopping block. It was pretty much considered that BLM had got 10 new helicopters, 205s, put Bobby Carr in charge, as a matter of jumper out of Redding. And they were going to get rid of the jumpers because they were just too difficult.